Greetings, this is Ives from the Resident Council. I have Peggy Kellers with me. We wanted to talk a little bit about our trip to the rec conference at Oak Crest and the buildings and the repositioning and work that we saw there, and show you some pictures from that thing that will help us understand kind of where we're going in that. So, and I especially appreciate for you, Peggy, where you're on the design committee and seeing some of the ideas here, mm-hmm. and are they also reflected at Oak Crest, and how do they change if they have to come here?
Right. And we had such a nice opportunity to be able to see a finished product, right. Much of which we will also see in Town Center. So I appreciate you taking the camera that day, and others that used their phones.
Right, very much. Well, let's take a look at some of the pictures then.
So this is the lobby as you come in, and as you can see, their building name is also Town Center. And you can see that it's very open, and yet they have a nice area for seating in a couple different places. And you'll see the round front desk area, rounded, which is what we will have in Town Center. I can't say that the layout is going to be exactly like this. This looked a little longer to me.
Okay.
But certainly the door entrance and the front desk.
Right. And that area for people can get together and chat a little bit. Mm-hmm. I like the signage that's big enough so we can read and so we know where we are.
Yes.
And whatnot. So that is very helpful, yes. With that one. Anyway, from here, we went down to the next one into the theater area where we met most of the time. Mm-hmm. And that was interesting to see that. So
now their theater area won't reflect ours, because obviously we're not going to have our theater in the repositioning piece.
Right.
But their theater was nicely spread out. I believe there were 220 seats, and there were 3 sections of their theater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a comfortable area in there. I think the longest we spent at any one time was about an hour and a half.
Yes.
But it was a very comfortable area, and so we'll be able to get
the one thing that everyone commented about was how much distance there was between the rows in front of them and their seats.
Yeah.
So it was actually helpful for a rollator.
So you didn't, and you don't scrape your knees every time you go in. So that's great that we have that. Okay. And then we go into another area. It was kind of a sitting area that is just off the main lobby as you're coming in. And so you have this part, and then there's another one further on. I think the picture there of 512 gives us the area that is kind of by the main dining area.
Yes.
And in through that way that you have.
And that's why I think our lobby area in Town Center will be a little different, because this one seemed a lot wider.
Oh,
and obviously we're going to still have the same shape. Mm-hmm. We'll have the CVS store where Chandra's office is, and we'll have another room where the current finance office is. So we have a little different configuration.
Okay. We'll need signs for us as we're going in there. Okay. So if you can pick up the main, here we are in the main restaurant, the McHenry's restaurant, and here Betty Griffith was just trying to show us that the chairs were low enough that people of smaller stature could get their feet on the floor and relatively comfortable in that. So
yes, she was our chair tester that day, so she had to sit in each of them and test. And then the nice thing about the McHenry, and the only thing I can compare it to is it will be like what Fireside will be. The noise level was really low. There wasn't a lot of problems with outside noise, and they've done a couple things acoustically. If you can see on the upper right with that wooden frame.
Okay.
That's part of the acoustic piece that they had put in. And then if you can see on the upper left, those are dark slats of wood. That's a
Okay.
dropped ceiling, and that also is to help absorb some of the sound. So that day, I think, Ivan, there were probably 65 or 70 of us in there.
Right.
We were spread out nicely, and yet we didn't hear other conversations or didn't have a lot of distraction.
That is interesting because in many of the buildings, they don't waste a lot of time and effort on
Right.
any sound suppression
Right.
type thing. So
Right.
that is very helpful.
And there
And-
were several different types of seating arrangements. I think you can see above Barbara Hawkins' head, there's a rectangular table for 8. We were in what they would call a booth, which was supposed to be for 5, but it was certainly much more comfortable for 4.
Mm-hmm.
On the right, where you see the striped color fabric, those are called banquettes. And
Okay.
again, those are for 4 to 6 people. And they extend the length of the wall. We saw some round tables that seated about 7. And so there was a nice variety
Okay.
of seating arrangements.
Now, some of the people that I talked to were in the, if you call it, kind of the little round lounge, and they said it wasn't too bad to get in and out.
Right.
Usually, if you have to go in very far,
Yes.
it gets to be something to scooch
Yes.
that distance. Where this way, it didn't sound like it was too long a distance, or they just didn't use that many people.
Right. And I think the whole principle is it's a one scooch seat
Okay.
when it's not a chair, when it's more like the bench
Okay.
or booth seating. And that's for our age group, just to
Okay.
make it a lot easier.
That'll be very helpful when we get it. And you see more people in here. This is getting around lunchtime in there. And I really enjoyed the lunch. I got as far as the Maryland crab soup that I loved on that.
Yes.
But then it's a buffet set up, and I had to break away and take pictures during buffet. Did you go through the line to see how comfortable that was?
Yes, the line was very easy to go through. The staff, of course, was so helpful because
Okay.
they're the ones serving. It's similar to Jefferson.
Okay.
And then the main entree table was separated from the dessert salad table. So you can see on the just right of that blue post with the black drape, that would be the dessert salad type table. And then the entree table is on the left.
Okay.
So it was a pretty smooth process, and I think that the people, we were all breaking for lunch at the same time, and I don't think there were a lot of lines.
Okay. I just had a brief opportunity to peek a little bit back toward the kitchen, and there, as with every kitchen, it is maximum use of space.
Yes.
But here out in the dining room, it looked open and very composed, very nice.
Yes. And when we talked with the Oakcrest residents, who obviously had been through the whole construction, they were very pleased with the outcome of it.
Okay. They have another area that they call the Quarry Grill. Now we're talking about a grill in the town center area, and maybe get a little bit of a look at one possibility here is just as you're going into the area, and then the grill mainly is to the left.
Yes, and so our grill was just labeled as a placeholder. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a grill. Now, they actually named theirs, with the word grill in it.
Okay.
But what you can see is that this is indoor and outdoor seating. And it was well laid out, and it is another restaurant. The rumor was here that, it's going to be for hot dogs and hamburgers, and that's not true at all. It's actually a full restaurant with specials.
Okay. Looked like you're making the menu or writing on the chalkboard up there.
Yes,
So
I think they were for that day, probably
today-
for the specials.
Yeah. So but it looks like a neat area using both tables and stools. So if you just want to get at the kind of a lunch bar, or if you want a table, whichever would be convenient for you.
And what's going to be fun for us is we're going to have the residents actually name the third
Okay.
restaurant in town center.
That'll be fun to see.
So we'll see what they
what
come
that
up with.
comes up. Yeah, okay. And then they had another area called the 1812 that's
Mm-hmm.
in here. Now, this to me was the most fascinating part of
Yes.
it. That it reminded of basically a tapas bar. Where
Oh, that's a good point.
You have the menu with the 3 small plates and a variety of things you can have on each of the plates, and the variety of beverages, and you have the kind of the bar and the stools. They're fairly low in there, and then the tables. Now, Catherine would make a beeline. She likes to perch. So she's on the stool and gets her arms on the table bar, and she's good for the day.
There you
I
go.
would probably go more to the table and chair.
Yes.
So, but you can go either way on that.
And what's nice about that restaurant, and again, you'll notice the name, it's 1812 Room, and it is a historic name for that area.
Right.
But they do feature smaller portions, because just as our
Right.
residents, you know, the residents at Oakcrest have been concerned at the amount of food that they're eating
Mm-hmm.
at one sitting. So even though that's for smaller portions, you still get enough to eat, because we made sure we asked people about that.
Okay, good. That seems to be a very popular
Yes.
area from the people I talk to.
And I think because it's more casual, and at the bar they also have televisions, so
Okay.
people can watch sporting events or news or whatever.
That's great. Then we also spent a little bit of time in the mail room, the good old post office. And there, I was really surprised when you look at the mailboxes. They're a different design than we have here. They're lower and they're wider, so that larger envelopes or magazines or anything can just be laid flat rather than having to be curled as they do in ours. And just I didn't realize that they had that available, but it sounds like a beautiful thing. Cubbies are cubbies, you know.
Yes.
That's about it.
But I think the mailboxes are kind of the new regulations from the post office.
It would make sense.
Yeah, so in our town center, for example, in the current mailboxes, those were the regulations 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And they followed
Yeah.
those, and then now those
Sure.
will change. But I agree. I think they were much more slimline, and you can see that there wasn't a lot of congestion.
Right.
When,
They may have to watch. It seemed like they went up fairly high, so we'll probably have to watch how
Yes.
high do you go for people in the you know, the
EMVs,
scooters
yeah.
or these thing, or smaller people. You might have a little bit of problem on that.
Right.
But I love the basic design.
yes. No.
And what we saw right at the end of that thing
Yes.
was a little bit of a wall that I called kind of a green wall. There's
Mm-hmm.
a better term. They called it something about a.
I've forgotten it if I
yeah.
know, but it has live plants.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes.
They sure looked live to me,
Yes.
but I didn't spend a lot of time.
Maybe we'll see it again.
Okay.
It'll come on the left. It's right there.
Yeah, there you go, the
So-
far side.
That wall is much bigger than ours will be in town center.
Okay.
But we're going to have that as a feature wall. And
Okay.
again, it just represents life.
Okay, that is a pretty thing to have
Mm-hmm.
in the area. Then when you have those things, you know, the 3 eating places and are all kind of in the same general area.
Yes.
So you don't have a mobility problem. You
Right.
can get to either one of them, and all of them in short order. So that was helpful.
And I think that will also replicate our town center with the third restaurant, the Fireside, and the Potomac
I
Cafe.
think that will
all within the same
very
vicinity.
much make it much more readily available to all the
Now, this
the
is
people.
their library, and you have to understand that these tables were set up for the meeting in the
Okay.
afternoon, but those tables are not usually in there.
Okay.
And so you can see the books, and there was on every wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then the furniture, of course, Betty tested, and it was approved.
Okay. Very
But
good.
normally their setup is the 4 top tables and the computer area, which you'll see. So the round or the bookcases that spin around, that helps with space, which we're going to also have in our town center. And then you can see the TV in the far right, upper right, and that's for playing videos or DVDs, that type of thing.
Okay.
And I think over on the right-hand side, there's the computer station.
Yeah, they kind of refer to it as a resource center too.
Yes.
I take it as their reference to the internet and the other areas they get.
And even though our town center library won't reflect this exactly because of the shape and that kind of thing, we will have all these resources. And Ben Simon has been working very closely with Chandra Kumar about the best layout and so forth.
Okay.
So I felt like it was very spacious, and people did have access to a computer if they wanted it or needed it, as well as a number of books.
About it. Then right next to that was kind of the fitness area.
Okay.
It started with the machines, the weight machines, and and this is a kind of a picture of the various machines that you have in there of different types. And the number, when I was talking with them, they said, well, right now, we probably don't need this many machines, but we can hardly forecast what we may need in the future. So that was quite nice.
And again, I don't know if our fitness center will be configured the same way, just because I didn't know the square footage when we were shooting this.
So that's about it. And just on the other side of the glasses in there was the pickleball area.
Yes.
Also that they have that as part of the whole system.
And our pickleball area will be called a multi-purpose room, so that will also give people that do line dancing and other activities that need a wooden floor an opportunity to have a separate area. That's where we're expanding our classrooms in that sense, because we have a designated room.
Okay. And then right next to it, you went from there right into the swimming pool and the hot tub area. And this was a spacious, very well lighted area. You see the hot tub right in front of you, and then the swimming pool has one long part, and then it goes down and into a more circular area.
That's right, and that will be for group aerobics and group fitness. And the swimming pool, and this will look like ours when it's finished. Okay. It'll be an Olympic-sized lane. So we will have for lap swimming, it's going to be much better. And there won't be as much interference if there's a group aerobics class going on and you're trying to swim laps. Right,
that'll be very good. Yeah, you kind of see the lap lane there. And here, if you see, look over on the right side, there's a lift mechanism where for people, they can sit in that and be lowered into the water or come up from out of the water. So that's a lift for the people. And then here's a ramp going down into the swimming pool. So that for people who need to go in a little more gently than a ladder, and then this is a beautiful way of coming in.
And you can see the rails so that they can hold on to that. And of course, both of these features are all in compliance with the ADA. That's a requirement for all the new pools that are being built. So I think the pool area is just spectacular.
Yeah, and much improved for what we have. Give the different capacity and capability, for aerobics or therapy or whatever you need to do. It'll work very well in there.
And even though our residents are going to be inconvenienced, just as the Oakcrest residents were, when we think about the final product, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to show this, I think it'll be worth the inconvenience, even though we have to be pretty patient.
It'll take that. Now, our group met in the craft room, and we don't really have a picture of the craft room. But as I remember, you had the painting in there and the sculpturing and whatnot, and then they had a kiln in there where much of the stuff could be finished in there. So that was a capability that I don't think of here. They may be tucked away someplace, but I think that's an added feature.
And
That's
our
in
current
the-
craft room in Town Center is not designated for art
Right.
or crafts. I think people would like it to be,
Yeah.
but that will be reconfigured because there is a kiln in that current craft
okay.
room, but I believe it will expand so that there's much more storage and that type
Okay,
of
that'll
thing.
be great. The only thing I saw when I was in there, and I think about later on, I didn't see a lot of meeting space. When I think of all the committees and groups and things that we have going on, I don't know if there's a difference between the communities and the number that you have available. So I'm not sure how that's going to shake out, but I know the meeting space can awfully get to be kind of precious around here, and so that'll be interesting to see.
And I think based on the blueprints that we've all seen, the meeting space will be similar in square footage, but it's going to be reconfigured. So for example, in order to put in the third restaurant, we're taking out the music room and the billiards room, but there are other meeting spaces to fulfill
Right.
that space need.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it so much, Peggy, to have an opportunity to look at what might be
Yes.
there, and then also see some of the same ideas being looked at here, but maybe configured differently.
That's right.
And we all look forward to the finished product.
For sure.
So thank you
Thank you,
very
Ivan.
much. Okay.